What's up, Sparky Lords? Crowy here. I've got something extra special for you on the Lounge Pods for the next 2 weeks. We're giving you guys some videos that have been on our platform. Tom Ryan, the big dog himself, the automation god, the self-appointed and self-anointed Ruffin Lord, turned automation lord. What a guy, Tommy. If you know him, total legend. He coaches one session a week for us, a help desk, where he helps people through business automation and electrical automation. And it's such a huge benefit to all our clients. But these ones we're giving them to you guys. It's Tommy running through Groundplan Advanced. It's definitely a session you'd want to open your computer and watch it and build it as you go. And don't underestimate something that you build on the back end once that you use forever. And so I hope the session helps you out in your business journey. And we are Sparky Coach. We love you. We don't say that lightly. And have the best day ever. Peace. Bye.
For the new guys, this is Groundplan. I'll do a super quick overview, but yeah, definitely watch the last video. I went for about an hour. So pretty much what you want to do is you can create a project from scratch. You name it. We try and keep it as a real even or consistent naming structure. And we'll get into this today. You can add these things in called templates, which save a shitload of time. Yet last week we pretty much showed how to do Groundplan and basically not use any of the advanced features like templates and formulas and all that kind of stuff. It was more just getting into a job and just mapping stuff out, which a lot of people use it for this. So I've just got this little Crowy's house, which is just a little muck around job that I have here. And what most people do when they first jump on Groundplan, and don't get me wrong, this is completely amazing and it still saves a shitload of time and a lot of effort. And in one of the sales, when I filled in for 40 and did one of the boardrooms, I sort of spoke about how this is really helpful with sales. So you can mark up a plan very quickly and very easily. You can add a legend to the plan, and then you can give that to a customer, which sort of helps separate you guys from other people. So, you know, some old punter might rock up and you'll just have like either a hand-drawn plan or he'll have nothing. And you rock up and you've either emailed them a digital copy or you rock up with a plan and it's got color-coded tools on it and whatnot. Just sort of makes you look a lot better to start with. So you can add on legends quite easily. You can change all the sizes of those. Once you get used to the flow of Groundplan and where all the tools are, you'll get heaps quick at it. So that's like a nice little legend there that we can add on. Might make that a bit small because we'll probably add some stuff in today. So, all right. So what I've done on this little muck around one is I've just slapped some downlights in. Obviously, I'd do that a lot better. I did those real quick on one of our last videos. And you can see here that I've made a tool. So the first thing is the stage, which gives you a heading. And think of those as like your sections, basically. That's how you want to organize your plan. And that stage heading will then come through onto your legend as well. And that's how it's all broken out. So, you know, usually you'll do something like power to site or, you know, boards and beads or something along those lines. Lighting, which I sort of generally include power, lighting points, smoke detectors, just things like that, like pretty much anything you'd sort of call as like a lighting point. PowerPoints, obviously that's just PowerPoints, maybe external PowerPoints, floor boxes, things like that. And I try and break it down into things like that. And then underneath those, you put your counts. So then you just click on it. You can go into settings, you can resize it all, make it look all neat. And then you can go the extra mile if you want and get your little arc tools and just sort of show the customer how that's going to go. So that's how you create a quick and easy plan. I'll let you watch the other video. But today what we're going to talk about is, firstly, I think what we'll start with is sort of building out the project templates and things like that. So probably the easiest way to do this, and just to keep it not boring, because I don't want to sit here for an hour and build shit out and you guys just watch me build stuff, I'll just show you how I use Groundplan, I think. And then you guys can sort of do it to suit you. So I don't know if you guys know, but we mostly do, like we do a little bit of electrical. We do a few homes a year where it's the full thing, but we mostly do home automation and audio-visual stuff. So our stages and our tools are tailored to us. You would do the exact same thing, but you just tailor it to you. So the first thing you want to do is create takeoff templates. So back when we were looking at the stages before, that's basically a templated stage. So one example would be, let's just look at one of the, what's one that's got a fair bit in it? I'll look at, we'll look at the home network and Wi-Fi. That one's pretty easy. And I also tag these, so I know what jobs these can work in, and I'll show you what that means later on. So if we go into this network template, all it is a stage. So the name is home network and Wi-Fi. And then in there, I've got just all these pre-built tools that I generally use on every single plan. So I've got a main communications rack, and this points to one of my Fergus favorites. I've got, a sub rack, which is just like a smaller rack. So usually what we have is like a main rack in every house. And what happens when I drop that rack onto a plan, that pulls in a favorite from my project management system that includes the rack, a router, a network switch, multiple patch panels, all the bits and pieces that sort of encompass a rack itself. So instead of having all these little things that I have to remember and dot on the page, I just do one rack. Then we've just got Wi-Fi points, obviously pretty straightforward. That's a wall-mounted Wi-Fi point. That's an outdoor Wi-Fi point. And this one here is actually a length measurement instead of a count measurement, which is actually to try and capture the length of a fiber. And I'll show you later on how I use a formula with that when I measure that one out, it measures the length of the fiber, but then it also in the formula adds in some components at either end that we need to sort of make that a whole product. So what you would do, the way that you sort of create these is you just go take off template. We'll just make one up. Let's call it downlight, or I'll call it lighting. And then that'll start off as a blank template. I can label this if I want. So I'll label that electrical because this is obviously to do with electrical. And then what you do is you go through and you just pretty much, the way I do this is when I did this is I came up with a big list first. So I just put it in I think I did it in either a Google Doc or just notes or something like that. And just sat down and thought about first, like all the things that I wanted to do. Then I sort of rearranged the order, and I found that made it a lot quicker and easier for me to put it all together instead of trying to think about it on the fly. So the first thing I usually do is pick a symbol. So let's just pick this. I will show you this as well, but you would have noticed before in my network and Wi-Fi one, everything was blue. I try and color code everything and keep it consistent. Some people like to have all their tools the same color, so their plans when presented to a client, everything's just consistent in one color. I prefer to actually color code. I feel like it's easier to explain to a client what things are, especially I might even show you one of my actual projects later. When you have a plan and it's just got a shitload of stuff on it, sometimes it can just get really hard to sort of pinpoint what's on the plan. So when you look at the color coding, I find that a lot easier to sort of see the difference between the different tools and what stage they're under. So let's just make it this color. You can adjust the size here. So we'll just make this small and we'll create. So there's two things that you can do here. You can either create this manually, downlight, you can give it your own part number. You can change, you can give it a unit of measurement is what that means. So that could be each or length or piece, whatever you want to call it. It's just manual, freestyle that. And then you can put in your own costs. So let's just say it's $60 and we can change our markup here. We'll just leave that at 60%. So if you're going to do it this way, if this is what you would do if you don't have an integration into something like SimPro or Fergus or ServiceMate, what I would do is this downlight, I'd add some more parts. So this would be the downlight itself. Then we're going to add another part. We call this, stock it plug base. Obviously, you just get actual parts from your wholesaler's price book. $5, one of them. And I would probably also add some cable. So we'll just go 1.5 mil twin plus earth. Now let's say that this one is a whole drum But obviously, every time we drop a downlight on the page, we definitely do not want to add a whole drum. So what we'll do is we'll go, we do a formula for this. So we can go, so count everything out of the box, or when you first do it, is just a count, which means it's just one of those things. If I want to do, say, 10 meters of cable every time I drop or 10 meters of a whole drum of cable every time I drop a downlight on, I'll just go count divided by 10. I think that was the right formula. Let me pull up my little formula, my pre-formula list. I've got some good ones for today. Get that ready. So this here is like an example of building out or creating a tool basically that has all of your pieces. So like the tool itself is a downlight, but within that tool, we're capturing a downlight, we're capturing cable, and we're capturing a plug base. But then we also need to add some labor, obviously. So we'll just call this labor tradesman. You can do it in hours, minutes, days, weeks. I just always do hours. We'll just say we pay $60 and we charge them out at 126. That'll do. So you can also add formulas to these as well. So say, like I probably would do at least an hour for a downlight, because if it's a new build, you've obviously got to rough it in, you got to come back, you got to cut it out, and then you've got to fit it off. So that'd be minimum an hour. But just say it was something else and you only wanted to do half an hour, you do divide 0.5. So that'd give us half an hour. Or if you wanted it to be 2 hours, you do this little star and 2. So this little star is times. So hour times 2. So let's just call it that. So we've created our first takeoff template. And obviously you'd have a lot more tools in there than this, but we're not going to go through and do that all day. We'll just create one in here called a downlight. It's got our parts on there, and some of our parts have formulas on it. So when I drop that in, it'll calculate everything accurately. So now what we'll do...
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, for sure. Jump in at any time.
If this is just, if you've got, say, Fergus or something like that, you build that in Fergus and then push the numbers straight to, like, rather than setting it up here, you'd build it in Fergus and push your numbers to the automation, and it would do the same thing effectively?
100%. So let me show you that quick. And then I'll actually add another downlight into there. I'll do one where we've made it up in Groundplan, and I'll do one where we've done it as a favorite.
Right.
So if I go settings here, so I made a few of these for later. So this is, everyone uses different software. We won't get into different softwares today, but we use Fergus, and this is where you keep your things called favorites. Others are called pre-builds, others are called cost centers, whatever you want to call them. So I've got this one that I made today called Trend Downlight Round. So this is essentially like a templated price book. It's got a heading, it's got a description, it's got a picture, it's got the downlight itself, it's got the socket or the plug base, and then we've got an hour of installation. Now, I've kept cable out of this on purpose because I want to show you some stuff later. So I've added in another favorite with lighting cable, and I've even created one for pin clips, which you probably wouldn't do, but just for the exercise, just, you know, so you understand how it works. So what we will do is I'll go back into my takeoff template. I'll find my one called lighting, which is this one. We'll add another one quickly. So we'll do this as a count. I'll just do a red downlight. That can mean my Fergus one. So what you do in this this situation is you go to favorite instead. I'm assuming if it's Simpro, it'll say cost center or whatever. And then you just got to search exactly what it's called. So trend downlight. So if I start searching that, oh, perfect. Just drop my integration. Stand by. It's always when you're trying to do this in a live demo that it does that. It only does that about once a fortnight as well. I think this is a real new integration. So they've got to sort out they have like what's called an API key, and it doesn't refresh itself. I think it's a Fergus thing. Right, that's back on. So ground plan, take off templates, lighting. Go in here, we'll add another one. So if I go favorite and I go trend. So in one of the past videos, I explained this. So this all comes through as a bunch of mumbo jumbo, because what that actually is HTML code, because it pulls in pictures and all that kind of stuff. This is another thing that they're still working on. So when I add this in, I'll hit create, and it's going to name it this messed up name. So pretty much all I do is I go back into here and I just copy this. This is just a manual sort of thing that I have to do at the moment. So apparently they're going to fix it that it pulls in the part like that one. But I think they've just got part name and part number or whatever around the wrong way. So what that's done now is it's mapped this little red circle to this favorite in Fergus. So every time I drop that on, that'll come through to my quote. And I'll push this to a template quote today, and I'll show you the difference, because it looks a lot better when it comes through as a favorite. All right, so we've got our lighting takeoff template. So it takes forever to build these, but it's totally worth doing. Like, I think I mentioned this last week or in one of the other ones. You're gonna have to sit down for a good couple of days and punch these out. And probably I would recommend, I didn't say this last time and I thought about it later, I would recommend making one or two first and then playing around with it for a week, just to make sure that you're happy with how you build it. Otherwise, you'll go and do all this work and you might realize it's not quite right, and then you'll have to fix it. So probably make a few, muck around with it for a little while. Once you push it to a quote a few times and you're happy with how that works, I just literally lock myself in a room for a day or two and just build all these out, because that 1 or 2 days will literally save you weeks and weeks over a year, and probably months over multiple years, if not more. So one example would be like when I used to do automation quotes, I did it the old school way, where I'd manually make my tools every time. I'd manually label everything. That would give me like a takeoff, basically like an Excel spreadsheet or just a list of what I've done. And then I'd have to have 2 screens, and I'd manually look at every single thing and be like, yep, I've got 10 Wi-Fi points, and I'd go over to my other software and I'd enter in Wi-Fi points. And now I literally just drop them on and just push a button. It's 10 times quicker.
That's how I do it now.
You're doing that now, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. So
I'll
make it in Groundplan and then go over to my Excel spreadsheet and enter everything in.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of project work as well, so it'd be interesting to see how quick you could make these for, say, like obviously every light fitting is unique, so we've got to get separate prices, so nothing would really be structured the same for lighting.
Yeah. So what I do in that situation, it's the same with us for automation switches.
Yeah.
So every job, and I'll show you this when we do a live job, but most things are the same. Like we use the same cameras, the same security system, the same this, the same that. But when it comes to light switches, there's literally, because we use KNX, there's literally 50 or so that you could pick from. Mm-hmm. So what I do is when that comes through as my template, it literally is just an empty tool, and it says KNX switch dash connect appropriate favorite or something along those lines. But then what I have done in my project management software is I've built out all my favorites for all the different types of switches. So
yeah,
if I go in here, so I've got switches, I've got core KNX, there's a couple there, Clipsal C-Bus in Zen, all the different types, Basalt switches, and there's all the Sentitos and all the Fibonacci's. So you got to go through and spend the time building both your project management software and then your Fergus after that.
Yep.
Takes forever, I'm not going to lie, and it's a fucking pain in the ass, but once you do it, it's the best thing you'll ever do. So on every project that we start, that's just one thing really. There's about 2 or 3 things per job that I have to manually link the favorite to. Everything else is already pre-linked.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the same with you for probably more, a little bit more in electrical, I reckon, because probably the PowerPoint types are going to be different, the switch types will be different, and
It's
you know,
more
you
the
might.
fittings, more the fittings anyway, like specified fittings. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you quote those? Are you supplying the fittings as well, or are you
Yeah, we
doing
supply. Yeah, it's supplied from supplier, so we just go out to our suppliers, get the prices back, and then enter them in pretty much.
and do you quote, so do you sort of then build that into a per point price and you say like this light is this much and that includes the fitting and the labor, or do you go through and go, right, my recessed downlight per point price is this and there's 20 of them, then
Yeah,
surface, then
pretty much. We just have like labor units, so we'll have like 5 minutes for a PowerPoint or whatever it is, and then we
yeah.
just add those cost things in, and then in
Mhm.
our spreadsheet we've got things where it's like you'll add in like say it's nearly the same sort of thing where you have a favorite, but it'll start tallying things like plug bases, all that sort of stuff, and it all have a minute rate to it, and then they'll just tally it at the bottom, and
Yeah, cool.
we just put our prices in there and then mark up from that.
So what you could do, or what everyone could do who's in that situation is, instead of making this where it's got the light in it, you could create one just called
Yeah.
recess down installation or something like that. And that would have the labor and the socket outlet, but not this light.
Yep.
And then what you could do is you could mark up a ground plan and that would capture 80 to 90% of it. It would do all your install, all your components, like your sun-dry components in the background, your cable, all that shit. And then you just do another section of your quote called lighting supply and just put all your hardware that's unique to that project and just mark it up.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, yeah, like that.
That'd save you heaps of time because then you don't have to go in and make a favorite every time, or like a new thing.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's sometimes, yeah, like because I'm slightly different how I work, it's good that you've sort of brought that up because that'll help us all think about how you can systemize it from another point of view.
For sure.
And just off the top of my head, that's probably what I would do is just,
Yep.
You're always installing a recessed downlight. It's just what is the downlight,
Yep.
You might have one that's called recessed downlight and one that's called set-in recessed downlight or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. For sure.
Cool. So, all right. So the next thing we want to do, once we've gone through and spent a day or so creating all of our takeoff templates, is you want to do project templates. So this is when you first start a new job, you'll select what type of project it is. And inside the project template, it'll have like a big list of all your takeoff templates that you've pre-built. So to show you an example, the one that we use the most is Home Automation System Savant Home or Basalt Home. So if I drop that down and hit edit, in my stages section, all of these here are pre-built takeoff templates. So I've got design and project management, KNX switches, and in here is just see how I've selected that template, KNX switches template. And here, this is the important part because this is the heading that will push through on the quote. So you can call the template whatever you want, as long as it's just so you recognize it. What you call the stage name is what will come through onto the plan, show on the legend, and then end up pushing through to your quote. So make sure you do them. The reason I did mine in capitals is because when I looked at my quote that got pushed through, I was just finding it a little bit hard to figure out what the main heading was and what the subheadings were underneath. So I made the main headings all in capitals just so it stands out a bit more. It's just something that I wanted to do. So you can go through here. This is something I want to do soon because I want to start handing over some of the design process to some of the guys in the office. So what I want to do here is create a to-do list and just brain dump just all those little things that I think about and just like an overall checklist of what to do in a quote and what to remember. Put that into the checklist. The guys can just go through and do the whole ground plan, and then at the end they can just come through into the checklist and go, yep. Oh fuck, forgot that. Go back in, do it, come back. And yeah, so they're pretty much the two main things. And you can predefine who you share them with if you've got multiple people in your office. I usually leave that unticked in our business because I do all the sales and then I manually share it with the guys once the project's been accepted, just so I don't flood their ground plan side. So what we'll do is we can go back to project templates and we'll just create a pretend one. So we'll call this electrical dash new build. And then inside it, we'll add a stage and we'll call this lighting. And then I can give it a description if I wanted to. This is the lighting stage. So you might write, obviously something that makes a lot more sense. And then I've just got to go through and find it and hit save. So now I've got my first little takeoff template in there. Once I add some other ones in, what else have I got? I think I've got power to site. I think I've got one of those in there. Let me just have a look. Yeah, we'll just pick this one, electrical distribution and circuit protection template. And then you can organize them so they go in a better order. So generally when you're doing a quote, you'll probably do all the boards and the power to site and all that kind of stuff first. Lay out your subboards, all that kind of shit, and then you'll move on to lighting, power, circuits, so on and so forth. So here's my electrical new build project template. So once I've gone through and done that, every job moving forward that I quote is going to be a lot easier because this is what I'll do. So I'll just go create a new job, go new job, site address. So I usually do like the customer name and then the dash and then the site address, just so when I'm looking through my list, it's all consistent. And then I just pick my template. So this particular job is an electrical new build, create. We obviously need to add in some plans. So let's just pick some random plan that I had. Where's a clean one? Need a clean plan. Should have been more organized with this. What's this one? I have no idea what this is, so we'll see what pops up. And how I sort of label these and do all the clean them up and all that, that's all in the last video. We'll just let this one come through. Once it decides to load up, must have been a big one. Cool. So just so I don't get confused and lose my plan, I'm just going to go Ryelec markup electrical. So this is just creating, I said in the last video, what I usually do is I put the clean plans under the default plans heading, and then I create a new one. I will copy one of the plans, rename it. We'll just call this ground floor. Who knows what floor it is? Copy. And then I'll move that to this other group just to keep it organized. All right, so we've got our little house here. Might just get rid of this just so if Crow wants to chuck this on YouTube, it hasn't got addresses and stuff. And so you'll see here that my stages are already here ready to rock and roll. I don't have to build them. I don't have to do anything. Like I don't have to go through that process of sitting here for half an hour to an hour building things. So I can just basically get started straight away once I've cleaned my plans up. So we'll do a few of these downloads. This little line here is your smart guides. I always turn my smart guides on. It just makes it so much easier to get shit straight.
If you hold shift as well, you can line things up and twist them too.
Oh yeah, so you can hold that. Shift generally holds them like perfectly in a straight line as you're going, yeah. When you're doing things. And then I'll get one that's not a circle. And if you do, make that a bit bigger so we can see it. If you do Alt R, you can spin it as you go. So once you get used to that, so R for rotate, when you're doing a PowerPoint, as an example, just pretend that this is a PowerPoint and PowerPoint's meant to go like that on the wall. What I do is I just put them in and I just rotate as I go.
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can do it as you go. So it's just once you get used to that flow, it's just so much quicker and easier. You just literally cruise around the plan, you just rotate and spin and just drop them in like that. So get rid of those. Another one as well is you can hold shift and then click, and that's how you select all. There's heaps of little tricks. You just got to get used to it. All these tricks save you time. So I put my nice little doobie back in there, so I know that they're all together. And then this one here is my my favorite one. So on the plan looks exactly the same. On a legend, it will look exactly the same. It all looks exactly the same. The difference is when you push it to your quoting software. So we'll put our legend in over here, make that a bit smaller. Cool. So now we've got a nice sexy plan we can send off to the client. So let me show you the difference, what happens when you push it through. So Roey's still in here. Where is he? Roe Electrical. Just do same as customer. We'll select that as a quote. Call this electrical new build. Can't spell, but whatever. Doesn't need a description. We'll assign it to a group. Create job. So I've just created a job, electrical new build. And what I care about here is the job number, 3420. So if I come to Groundplan, I can push the quote. All I got to do is search that job number. It'll find it. Electrical new build. Submit. And then you can click the link there or just come here and refresh. So these are the two different ways it will lay out. So I've always got my stage name. That's this part in here, lighting in capitals. The difference is this one here is just built up of components within Groundplan. So I've got my made up part numbers, what they are, and their quantities. The formulas are all in here. That just comes through as a big list like this. So that's okay, and that still works. But what you sort of end up with is like, it'll just add up all your lighting cable. It'll add up all your downlights. It'll add up all your plug bases, and it'll add up all your labor. So that's sweet. Like some people are happy with that. I just prefer to have it. I just prefer to have them come through as favorites, and it looks a bit more professional, and it makes it more of like an actual per point price. So when you're sending that to the customer, they could say like, oh, actually, those downlights are probably a bit too expensive. I like all the other lights. I just want to change that one downlight. So what you can simply do is come into here, and I don't actually have any other downlight favorites, but what you could do is I'll just pick something super random. I'll just do a basalt switch. You can just pick another light favorite, add that in instead, delete this one, and then push to the quote again. And it just updates it. So as you keep adding, if you just imagine you've got a big long quote and you just wanted to change one part, all you need to do is just reselect the favorite inside Fergus, and it'll basically just update your quote for you. You don't have to go through here and just go, oh yeah, actually, fuck, that's, these downlights, we'll just change these from the $60 one to the $30 one, and I'll change that markup percentage to 40, and then sometimes you do that, and then or you might delete some downlights and you forget to do your labor, or you might add some downlights and forget to update your labor and all this stuff. This is like a bulletproof way of doing it, and you can see the exact cost associated to those downlights, even though they're a switch. I'll change that back. So that's a lot of that. So let's what's the time? We've got 20 more minutes, so we might dive into some more extreme formulas maybe. So let me just delete that so it's not in the way, and I'll change this back to my trend just so we don't have some random switch coming through. Cool. So what I did before we started, so I made some favorites that probably a bit more suitable to most Sparkies, and I did some cable tray ones. So I've made this cable ladder, and just ignore that these parts all won't match up and they're not accurate. I just slapped them together. So this is a cable ladder that includes a length of cable tray, so the 4 meter length. I've just put in like a generic price I just made this up just for threaded rod, nuts and bolts and all that kind of stuff. You could actually put them in properly. And then I've just done an hour per length of tray for install. Then I've had a separate cantilever bracket, and then we've got some bends, some 90 mil bends. So what we'll do is I'll show you how we can put that into Groundplan, add those in, do some formulas, and then what you do is you measure out your tray run. You do where you do your little turns where you're going to do bends, and it will automatically add the bends in for us. It'll add in 4 of these cantilever brackets per length, because that'll be a formula, and it'll add in all of our lengths of tray depending on how long our run is. So obviously, if I did this all the time, I'd create these as templates, but in this situation, we'll just create a new one. So we'll call this tray. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do we're not going to do a count, we're going to do a length. So we might make our tray red, and I need to search cable ladder. So here's my favorite. Once again, I just need to update my name, otherwise it'll come through as this messed up. It's messed up stuff. So we've got our cable ladder. Now that's from a Groundplan point of view, that's literally all I want to have on there, because I just want to mark out and show the cable ladder. What I can do though is I can add more stuff. I'll just make up a made up scale. 1/100 at A3, that'll do. So what we'll do is we'll add some more bits in. So we'll add some more parts to this length measurement. So we'll go favorite, and we'll add in CB2 cantilever bracket. I'll find that. These ones we don't really need to rename. We'll do these formulas in a second. I'll just add these bits in first. So see how I've added 2 things to this one thing, like two parts to this one count or length. And then we'll add in another one. So this one is our tray bend. So if I was to just do this now, it's gonna give us stuff, but it won't be accurate. So we've got our 16 bits of tray. We've got the same amount, so we definitely don't want 16 cantilever brackets, and we definitely don't want 16 bends. That's just way overkill. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some formulas to these, so it makes a bit more sense. So this one, let me just pull them up. I pre-wrote them in, so I didn't have to cook this in real time. Right, so the cantilever bracket. Cantilever bracket, we'll edit this thingo, and we'll put this formula in. So what this is ceiling. That means that it rounds it up to the closest whole number, and then we're going to divide that by 2. So that means for every length, it'll give us 2 of those. Is that right? I have to double check that. And then tray bends. So this one is just another example of a formula where what we want to do here is go, so round it down to the lower whole number, and then we want to do every single segment. So what a segment is see how before I drew the line and then I clicked and then I went on a different angle. Each one of those lines is a segment. So what you can do formulas that it will add something in based on the segments or the lines. And because this is a bend, I've minused the count. So what the count is the whole thing. Doesn't matter if I start a line and I go 100 times, that one piece or that one thing that I marked up is the count. The length is obviously how long it is, and the segment is each segment of line. So the reason I minused the count is because it minuses one elbow or one bend. Because if I do a straight bit of tray, I don't want it to add in a bend. I only want it to add a bend once I hit the second segment, and so on and so forth. So that's updated to 2, because I've got, I'll shut this down so we can see it. So I did a straight run of tray. Let me redo this so it looks a bit better. So we'll do some tray through this garage. So go here, and we'll just say we had to dogleg it there. And then, we went there. So we've got 29 meters of tray. We've got 15 cantilever brackets, and we've got 2 bends. So let's just check if that's right. So that rounds it up. The reason I got ceiling there is because it'll just round it up to a whole number. It won't give us like 14.5 cantilever brackets. It'll give us 15. It just rounds it up to 1. That's why I chose ceiling instead of floor, because if you're actually quoting a job, I'd rather end up with 1 extra cantilever bracket instead of being short one. So that's what ceiling means. Length is obviously just length. That's exactly how long it is. I could actually add a formula to that too. I think we'll go seal length. So by adding that should round it up to a whole number. Yeah. So you can use those little formulas just to clean it up, because obviously you can't go and buy 29 lengths of tray and then, well, you probably could do this, I guess, but you don't, and then go into the wholesaler and say, oh, can you cut off just fucking like 200 mil of that last one because my count up software says that that's what I need. You just round it up to your whole number. Then I wanted 2 brackets every count. Every bit of tray, and then my bend. So that's basically showing you how that can work. So if I could basically do that, set that up as like a project, a takeoff template, put that in my project template if I did tray work all the time. And then all I ever need to do is chuck a plan in there, dress it up a little bit, and then just start throwing my tray runs around. So I could do like different sizes of tray, or, ones for communications and stuff like that. And then we'll just do some tray out the front of the house because it's the industrial vibe. So yeah, I've got all my tray. Now what I can do is just simply push to my quote again. So I might create a new version this time just so we can see the different versions. Version 2. Give them 30 days. And that will open up my quote. Still has my downlights, got my ship version and my takeoff template version. Then I've got my tray section. So you could add something in there like this is for cable tray to, keep your cables, blah, blah, blah. Got 71 lengths of this tray. So, I've slapped this in, as I said before. So your template might have like 1 bit of rod, 4 nuts, and it would just add all those numbers up. So you could figure out that you needed like, 200 nuts and bolts or whatever. And I've allowed 71 hours. Obviously, you can adjust that if you wanted to. So you could just go like 80 hours. So that's a bit of tray work. Then I've got my cantilever brackets. So I've got 36 of those. And I've allowed another 18 hours. So that was a half an hour per bracket. So it's given me 36 of these cantilevers, but I've got 18 hours to do it. And then I've got my tray bends, 6 of those, and 3 hours. So those numbers are bigger because I slapped these extra bits on before I push to the quote. So if we have a look at this, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're my bends. Does that sort of make sense to everyone? And has anyone got any questions or want me to sort of help you through anything that you're thinking?
Yeah, I just got a quick question, not related to this. So that all makes sense. That's really good. Can we use the area tool for things like underfloor heating?
100%.
You show us that.
Absolutely, you can. So yes, you can. So that'll be the same concept. Is what you would probably do is you would create a favorite, or let's just do it like this. So we'll just call this floor heating mat. So this would be your actual mat. I'm doing that as an area, aren't I? Yes. We'll do that as meter squared. Give it a part number. We'll give it a cost per meter squared. We'll just say, I don't know what it is, but we'll just say it's $20. Going to mark it up 110%. Then we can add some more parts. So this would be area. Then what we would do is you'd add a part called thermostat. Can't spell once again. So this one I've added
Count.
count. You can just click on it.
Yep.
And we'll change that to each. Yep. So that'll drop a thermostat every time I do one of these. And what else do we need for that? Probably a probe. So we'll just go probe. Part number. Each. $20 for a probe. Change that to count. And then you just measure it out from there. So let's just say that this has some floor heating. And then I think you can adjust that as well, so it's not so like it's a bit more transparent. Oh. So what that should give us, we look at the worksheet. Actually, we want to look at quantities. Look at quantities and we'll go to tray and find our, so we've got 46 meters squared of mat, 2 thermostats and 2 probes.
Yep.
So that's sort of what you're thinking?
Yeah. Would there be a way to break that up so that, say you have all your kits for the certain sizes as pre-builds, for you to measure it out on Groundplan and then it determined on the square meterage, select the right pre-build, the right kit? Does that make sense? Is it?
Yeah.
So like they might come in like 3 to 4 meter squared kits that'll have like a price attached to it. And
I think,
could you measure that out and then it selects like, say like 3 bathrooms at 4 meters squared and then like another living room at 45 meters squared. And then you have your different hours in, and it might be in Simpro or Fergus or whatever, but your different hours attached to that.
I don't think it can do that. What I would do in that situation is do it as a count. So it's going to take a little bit longer, but I would go call it a 4 meter squared. So I do this with cinema rooms actually. So 4 meters squared, like cinema room templates, the different, bigger the room, the different system you need to put in.
Yep.
So instead of working that out, you just go floor heating system, and that would be like a full pre-build in your thing. And you would add another one. We'd just do like different color. I'll just make this up, 6 meter squared floor heating system. And then what you'd probably just do is measure. Is there an area? I'm pretty sure there was an area. Well, you might just have to make probably just do something like just have a blank one. So this isn't like fully automated, I guess. This would just be like a helpful way to do it, I would say. So this would be floor heating mat area measurement.
Yep.
And you just have to look at these and go like, all right, so area 1, that's that small one there. Area 2's, and just say that was a 4 meter kit and that was a 6 meter kit. I'd then come over and just slap that on there and just go, right, I need a 4 meter kit there. I need a 6 meter kit there. I need a 6 meter kit there. I need a 4 meter kit there, sort of thing. And you just use that area measurement just to sort of just to see what the area is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk to Groundplan as well to see if they can do some more advanced stuff with the formulas, because what I'd like as well is like we have sort of things that we want to jot on there. Just say as an example, like I've got one stage that's got cameras, and then I've got another stage that's got Wi-Fi points, but they both use data cable. So I want them to try and do something along the lines, which is probably similar to suit you, would be like count how many cameras there are, count how many Wi-Fi points there are, even though they're in 2 different stages. They can then map to how much data cable you need, sort of across the whole project instead of just in that single tool inside, you know what I mean? So I think they could just add a little bit more to that, but like it's super powerful what they've got already, but sometimes you just got to sort of think a little bit outside the box, I guess, of what you want to do.
Another question, sorry, last one. With those symbols, so see how we drew the area squared, it comes up, so that's really good. Then we drop the symbol on just to count it pretty much, so that the little DB symbol you got there for the 4 and the 6 meter. Is there a way to, like, do we always have to have them in? Can we have them as not visible and just count them anyway?
These?
Yeah, the
areas.
Not the areas, the DB, like the 4 meter, those ones.
Not really, to be honest.
Okay, that's all right.
No. You you just don't want to see them on the plan, you mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, you can just make it small, yeah.
You can upload whatever symbols you want into the
Yeah, correct. Yeah. You can upload heaps of different symbols in. So you can just make it really, really small if you wanted to.
Okay, that's even better. Yeah.
Miniature.
Yeah, sweet.
That might be the go. And then you could obviously do, like, so it doesn't go the whole thing red. You can muck around with this too and just go like, maybe take out the fill color as an example.
Yep.
That just cleans it up, and then you can make that line heaps thinner as well, and just sort of so it doesn't take up your whole plan full of floor heating stuff.
Yep, cool.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for that.
All good. Alex, you sweet? You're going to go out now and build heaps of favorites and stuff?
Yeah, I'm hoping. So I was thinking it'd be good if they kind of offered that, like a whole bunch of pre-builds for you, so you didn't have to spend so much time. It's like even like one you did with the kale tray, like it'd be pretty useful for most people, you would assume.
Yeah.
Surprised that they don't have, even offer a list of pre-builds.
I guess, yeah, like you could, but it's
Different.
So many,
yeah.
There's so many variations of what you could do,
Yeah.
So they do have like this is nowhere near what you're thinking, but they do have like pre-built little symbols and stuff in there. So they do a little bit of that. But yeah, I don't know. It's probably too difficult to do pre-built like things like that because everyone just wants to, there's how many different sizes of tray do you have and brands and
yeah. That's right. People build these things out for, like you say, for days and days.
Yeah. I wish there was a way, because I'm pretty quick at building them out now. I wish there was a way you could actually export it and share it with people, but
that's kind of what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah, they don't have that either. So it's just sort of you got to build it and even like I would like to be able to export it as well, just to have it as a backup in case shit ever hit the fan and I accidentally or something. So but anyway, but if you guys dive in and get a bit stuck or whatever, feel free to just reach out and I'll help you out.
Yeah, cool. We actually have a project coming up. We might have a quick chat to you about it if you have time. Tom, they've specced Kasambi for the automation.
Oh yeah.
I won't hijack the meeting, but if you don't mind us dropping you a quick message just to give us a quick rundown on that if you've ever worked with it, or if you have an alternative that we can recommend a bit better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, give me a buzz, mate. All good.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on another podcast. Whatever you're doing, don't be too busy to stop and check if you're making money. And above all else, you know the rules. Be kind. See you soon.